My name is Eliza Reed, and I learned the smell of betrayal long before I learned the smell of oil paint. It's colder than it should be inside the Halberd Museum of Art. Summer hangs outside like a damp towel, but the conservation lab hums with recycled air and fluorescent honesty. I used to love that hum. Today, it feels like a jury. Your memo left us with no choice, Director Ainsworth says, folding his hands like he's praying. I'll accept it. I stare at the Van D. No, I won't say the name, the so-called 17th century landscape that sparked this whole mess. Under UV, a modern retouch fluoresces like a nightclub stamp. Under my microscope, the craquelure pattern reads as algorithmic, too uniform, too tidy. I wrote it up, like any curator with a spine would. I circulated the report internally, I say. Because the donor insisted we mount the piece in October. Because the label would have said, circa 1662, when the canvas threads scream, Home Depot 1998. Because it's a fake. Not fake, he sighs, disputed. 16 anomalies aren't a dispute. They're a confession. Across the table, the legal counsel clears her throat. Eliza, this is a sensitive matter involving a major benefactor. Mr. Halberd's contributions are untouchable? I ask. They all look at the floor, then at each other, then back at me as if I've interrupted a ritual. In the glass wall beyond, the morning light turns the lobby into a lake. I can see my team setting up for the new media show, all cables and quiet swearing. I should be there, arguing about projection lengths and artist intent. Instead, I'm in a boardroom where the art is press releases and everyone speaks in donor-friendly fonts. We're terminating your employment effective immediately, the director says. You'll receive severance contingent on a non-disparagement agreement. We expect you to respect the institution. Respect the institution. The words drop like coins in an empty fountain. Let me get this straight, I say, carefully, because rage likes to make a fool of me. I found evidence that one of our marquee donors is laundering his reputation with forged art. I followed the protocol. And you're firing me to keep his name on a plaque. I found evidence that one of our marquee donors, silence. Even the HVAC goes shy. The legal counsel slides a folder across the table. Sign here, here, and here. My hand doesn't shake. My jaw does. I won't sign your gag order, I say. Eliza, Ainsworth pleads, mild and professional. Think of your career. I do. I think of the first time I saw a Turner in person, how it felt like the sky had been peeled back, and my ribs were an observatory. I think of the interns I told to trust their eyes. I think of my mother back in Ohio who still thinks museums are safe places. I am, I tell him. For the first time today I am. I stand. Security appears, like I said a magic word. They're not cruel about it. They're just practiced. I'm given exactly 7 minutes to clear my desk. No goodbye walk through galleries. No last look at the tapestry I helped conserve for an entire winter. Institutions are great at pretending people are dust. My desk is a small archaeology of me. Graphite pencils honed to surgical points, a broken magnifier, a Polaroid of my team at last year's gala, where we all looked like we got away with something. I put the photo in my tote, because I can't leave that version of myself behind. I pass the landscape painting in the conservation lab one last time. The surface glows like skin under a stage light. From 10 feet away, it is perfect. That's how fakes work. They court distance. You okay? Priya, my assistant conservator, whispers. Her eyes are wide, wet. I want to say yes. I want to say I'll be fine. What I say is, trust your eyes. Security walks me through the lobby where the donor's portrait smiles 12 feet tall. Finley Halberd, private equity siren, chin like a ship's prow, framed in a halo of tasteful philanthropy. He gave us a new wing, a new cafe, a new narrative about his family. In the gossip ecosystem, they call him a rainmaker. In mine, I call him a weather system that floods everything he touches. Outside, Manhattan is loud enough to swallow me whole. It's June the 12th, and the city smells like overheated asphalt and hot dog water and brass ambition. I stand on the steps and breathe until the dizziness passes. My phone vibrates. A message from an unknown number. You made enemies today. Keep your head down. I laugh because crying would make me a public fountain. Then I do cry, quickly, violently, behind my sunglasses. I let myself have exactly 60 seconds, then I press it all into a hard little diamond and pocket it. Because here's the deal. I am 30 years old. I have a master's degree in art history, a minor in being a problem, and a sense of smell for varnish so sharp I can tell you the brand with my eyes closed. What I don't have right now is a job. I go home to my fourth-floor walk-up in the East Village, a place with too much character and not enough outlets. The hallway is a museum of other lives, a beaded curtain, a bicycle rim, a pair of roller skates that have never seen the street. My door sticks like always. Inside, my apartment looks like a crime scene where the victim is free time. Books everywhere, clippings, a cracked lightbox. I kick off my shoes and sink onto the floor. The adrenaline leaves me like a tide. What now? Bad idea after bad idea takes turns in my brain. Sue the museum? Sure, with what money? Go to the press? With what proof that won't get buried by Halberd's lawyers? Change my name and move to Santa Fe? Tempting. In an aesthetic way. I boil water for ramen, because even anxiety can't stop me from needing salt. The kettle screams. My email pings. Subject line. Provenance request. Urgent. It's from a registrar at a small museum upstate. She's asking for guidance on a private loan of a Dutch master landscape from the Halberd collection, seeking the same records I pulled yesterday, the ones that turned into my termination letter. Attached is the image. My heartbeat stutters. The same painting. Not similar. Not school of. The same brushwork pattern, the same tree angle, the same microcraquelure I wrote about. But the edge of the canvas in this photo shows something ours didn't. A modern gallery stamp, faintly visible under grime. I zoom in until pixels break. Norton and Rell, Chelsea, 2007. I know that stamp. They sell high-end reproductions to rich people who want the aura without the waitlist. They specialize in restorative facsimiles, which is a phrase that should be illegal. 2 originals in 2 places at once. Schrodinger's landscape. I reply with careful questions, then stop myself, then draft a different email from a personal account. I ask for the loan paperwork. I ask for the provenance chain. I ask if the donor insisted on a short-term display and a press preview. I don't hit send. I need leverage. I need a plan. I pace my living room until the floorboards memorize me. The truth is a quiet thing, but it's not shy. It wants to be seen. Institutions make it whisper. I can make it sing. My phone buzzes again. Priya, you didn't hear this from me, her text says. But Halberd is hosting a private viewing tomorrow night for friends and family in his warehouse. Rumor is he's unveiling a lost Rembrandt. They're routing the museum's PR team. You didn't hear this from me. I feel that sentence settle into my bones like a dare. A private viewing, a warehouse, a lost Rembrandt. The press, the donors, the halo repeating itself like a Gregorian chant. I open a new note and start typing. Pop-up shows live or die on location, on timing, on audacity. They also live or die on evidence. If I can show people what's behind the glass, not the museum glass, the narrative glass, I can force someone to listen. The city is full of empty storefronts begging for a cause. The internet loves a public scandal with pretty images. But you don't pick a fight with a billionaire in his arena, you build your own arena. I look around my apartment. The walls are already full, but my life isn't. I think about the first time I curated an exhibit, how I learned that labels are stories, and stories are weapons, when you tell them right. If I could get access to Halberd's warehouse. If I could document what he calls originals. If I could show the seams, the modern stamps, the lazy forger fingerprints. I pour out the ramen. It tastes like vengeance softened with broth. At 7:14 p.m., I put on sneakers and walk the city. Movement helps. The sky bruises to purple. I loop past galleries where assistants smoke and look bored, past bodega cats on their third lives, past a wall plastered with wheat paste posters that say, "Art is a mirror, not a mask." I stop. Okay. Fine. I say it out loud to a wall. I'm going to build a mirror. Back home, I draft a list of people who owe me, or at least don't hate me. A projection artist with a basement space, a union carpenter who can build display walls overnight for beer and gossip, a journalist who once told me, "If you ever have a story that scares you, that's the one." My inbox dings again. A new email, no subject, no sender name. Just an address that looks like someone mashed the keyboard with their elbow. Inside is a single sentence and an attachment. You were right. The attachment is a high-resolution photo of the Van D landscape, but not the one from the museum. This image shows the painting on a table. Unframed. A corner peeled back like a band-aid. Under the canvas, there's a mesh of modern polyester fibers, and Jesus, the crisp halftone grid you get from archival inkjet. A G-clay, pretending to be a 350-year-old saint. My scalp tingles. There's also a second attachment. A photo of a metal door with stenciled letters. Calown storage. Next to the handle, a keypad. A final line in the body text appears as if it's an afterthought. Tomorrow, 9 p.m., freight elevator, come alone. I stare at my screen until the city outside blurs. If this is a trap, it's a beautiful one. If it's bait, I am already halfway to the hook. But if it's real, if someone inside Halberd's world wants this to blow, then I could do more than write a memo. I could stage an exhibit. Not of masterpieces, of masks. I check the time. I check the locks. I do something I almost never do. I call my mother. I tell her I love her with a careful voice that says everything else without saying it. I don't tell her why. When I hang up, I print the photos. I light my little desk lamp and pin them above the light box, side by side, like they're pieces of a larger work that's almost in focus. My hands stop shaking. My heart does not. Okay, I whisper to the room, let's make some noise. The buzzer sounds downstairs. I freeze. No one buzzes at my building after 9, unless it's delivery or trouble. The intercom crackles, then a voice I don't recognize whispers, "Eliza, open up. Please." I take one step toward the door. Then another. I press the button. The old stairs groan as someone climbs. My doorknob trembles. And when I open it, the person on the other side is the last face I expect to see, someone from Halberd's inner circle, clutching a slim, battered shipping tube like a life raft. Their eyes are terrified. "Don't ask questions," they say. "Just look inside." I twist the cap, slide out a rolled canvas, and the first thing I see is a corner where the paint has cracked in perfect, factory-made lines. The second thing I see makes my stomach drop. It's not just the landscape, it's a lost Rembrandt. Her name is Mara Linden, and she's Finley Halberd's collection manager. At least, that's what her trembling whisper says, while my door chain quivers between us. She steps in, shuts the door, and presses her ear to it like the hallway might answer back. Up close, she looks like every art professional I've ever trusted. Black blazer with a permanent crease, flats for sprinting between disasters, eyes that can spot a lifted signature at 20 paces. "Don't turn on more lights," she says. "Phone's in the freezer." I blink. "You think he's—" "I don't think," she says. "I know." We slide our phones into the ice cube graveyard between a bag of peas and a souvenir gelato spoon. She exhales like she's been underwater all day. "Tube," she says, thrusting it at me. I crack the cap. The canvas rolls out on my kitchen table with a sigh. Even in bad apartment light, the paint surface is plasticky. Too even. The craquelure reads like a plug-in. My stomach tightens. "It's the Rembrandt he's unveiling tomorrow," Mara says. "Or one of them." "One of them?" She opens her tote and starts laying out documents. Shipment receipts. A work order from Norton and Rell. A series of high-res photos with rulers in frame like crime scene markers. A printed email thread between Halberd and a broker, thick with euphemisms, interpretive replacement, museum quality stand-in, narrative alignment. My fingertips tingle. "Why bring this to me?" I ask. Because you already set yourself on fire, she says, matter of fact. And because I helped buy the gasoline. She doesn't flinch when she says it. He asked for facsimiles to protect the real ones from transit risk, she adds. That's how he sold it to me. But the reality is, there are no real ones. There never were. It's all a theater. How long? Years. The word is a blade. It slices through excuses. Mara taps a photo. This stamp is the same as the landscape. Norton and Rell, 2007. And this, she points to a discrete oval in the stretcher. RFID tags for inventory. Except they're blank. He keeps 2 sets of numbers. For insurance. For donors. For lies. Why now? I ask. Because tomorrow, he's inviting the museum's PR team to the warehouse, she says. Because he fired you to make a point. Because I'm tired of being a point. She slides a keycard onto the table. It's labeled Calhoun Storage with a little piece of masking tape. Next to it, a post-it with a code. Freight elevator, she says. 9 p.m. I can jam the cameras for 5 minutes. That's all I can promise. You want me to go inside? I want you to show people, she says, quiet and fierce. Not with a memo, with something he can't bury. I imagine walls, lights, labels that speak plain, not museum. A pop-up that feels like a siren. Okay, I say, before fear can argue. I'll build a show. Mara's mouth twitches, almost a smile. You'll need proof. I'll get it. She reaches for her phone, remembers the freezer, and laughs once without humor. Be careful who you trust. Ditto, I say. She leaves as quietly as she arrived. The moment the door clicks, my apartment swells with the beat of my heart. I move. I grab the photo prints from earlier and spread them beside the Rembrandt. I label piles with sticky notes, like a battlefield map. Norton and Rell paperwork. Duplicate. Originals. Emails with euphemisms. Priya's text about the private viewing. Mara's code. The kettle screams. I forget I put it on. I blow the water into a mug, stare at the steam, and dial with my other hand. First call, Jules. Projection artist, basement space in Chinatown, heart of a cathedral. You said once you wanted revenge art, I tell them. I've got a blueprint. You're spicy when you're unemployed, Jules says. What do you need? Wall space, blackout curtains, a short throw, and a miracle by tomorrow night. Miracles are extra, they say. Come by. Second call, Dante. Union carpenter, gentle giant, allergic to billionaires. After hours build? I ask. Temporary walls, tracks, plinths, paid in cash, and bad stories. I got plywood and opinions, he says. Where? Working on it. Third call. Sienna Park. Investigative journalist who once called our annual gala a fundraiser for the morally ambitious. I have documents, I tell her, and images. I'll give you everything after I open, not before. I'll want verification, she says, voice like a legal pad. Chain of custody, motive. You'll have motive hanging 12 feet tall on a projection, I say. Embargo until doors open, she considers. Date me the time. Tomorrow night, I say. If I don't text you by 10, publish anyway. You setting a dead man's switch, curator? I'm setting a truth alarm. We hang up. I write the email that sends my file cache to 3 people if I don't check in by 10:1 p.m. I set it to trigger. My hand shakes once, then steadies. Next, burner phone run. I throw on a hoodie and head down the stairs. The city is a hallway of neon and faint menace. At the corner, a black SUV idles too long. It could be anyone. It could be everything. I buy the phone with cash and a conversation about Mets pitching. I strip the packaging in the alley and smash the SIM from my old phone, so I feel like a spy for 5 seconds. Back at my place, I make lists. Supplies. UV flashlight, loop, nitrile gloves, DSLR, extra batteries, gaffer's tape, chalk pens, extension cords, tape measure, courage, labels, halftone halo, algorithmic craquelure, provenance, or how to say nothing, in 400 words. Donor wall edited. Text. Short, punchy, undeniable. The opposite of the museum voice that turns facts into fog. I write until language feels sharp again. At midnight, an email arrives from the museum's legal counsel. Subject line: Notice of potential defamation. It's a mass of threats dressed as concern. It says I'm endangering donors. It says they'll vigorously protect the institution. I reply with a single line: protect the art. I don't send it. I don't need to bleed for them twice. I nap in 20-minute stitches on the couch. At 6 a.m., I shower like I'm rinsing off a version of me that apologized too much. By 8, I'm at Jules's basement. They've already blacked out the windows. A projector hums like a promise. We test looped footage of the landscape under UV. On the wall, the retouch glows sickly club green. It's like watching a lie confess. I love this for you, Jules says, hands on hips. I also don't love prison. Civil, not criminal, I say, mostly to myself. And truth is a defense. Cool, cool. Should I stencil allegedly above the door? Dante arrives mid-morning with wood and a radio tuned to a classic rock station that refuses to play anything from this century. He builds walls in an afternoon like it's origami, humming, measuring, stapling black fabric to kill reflections. By 2, I slip out to meet Sienna at a deli 2 blocks away. We sit in a back booth beneath a framed photo of a man famous in 1989. I slide her a manila folder under the table because I was raised on movies. She doesn't touch it. Is this about Halberd? Yes. Is this going to get you sued? Almost definitely. She grins. I like you better unemployed. We set rules. She gets everything after I secure the photos tonight. She can attend the pop-up as press. If I disappear, she presses publish with both hands. Be careful, she says, softer. Define careful. Less dead than the last curator who crossed a billionaire. I pay and walk out feeling like the air is too thick for September, but it's June and I haven't eaten enough. By 6, the space looks like a place where truth could be loud. Labels are printed, crooked on purpose like protest signs. The title spans the entry wall in white paint pens. The curator's exhibit. Underneath, in smaller letters, what you were meant to see. My phone, the burner buzzes. Unknown number. 9 p.m. Don't be early. Cameras loop for 5 minutes. If you're late, you're on camera forever. I text back a single dot. At 8:37 p.m., I dress like I'm trying not to be remembered. Black jeans, black jacket, hair under a cap I stole from an ex. I tuck gloves in my pocket and slide the UV light up my sleeve. Jules squeezes my hand at the door. If you're not back by 10, I'm pulling the fire alarm on your exhibition anyway. Please don't, I say and mean do. The subway is a tunnel of nerves. I count stops like rosary beads. At Canal, I switch. At Varick, I rise into air that smells like wet cardboard. Calhoun Storage sits between a shuttered furniture store and a boutique gym named after a verb. The building is brick and bland, with the face of someone who never gets ID'd. A single camera winks red above the freight bay. 9 p.m. on the dot. I swipe the keycard. The light blinks indifferent green. The door groans open. Inside, the air is colder than my old conservation lab and twice as sterile. The elevator is a steel box with buttons that don't have numbers, just letters, A through G, the kind of place that wants you to know where you're going. A text buzzes. F, straight shot, 2 guards on rotation, you have 5. I hit F. The box moves with the quiet authority of money. When the doors part, the hallway is concrete lit, like a dentist's fantasy. A metal door waits at the end. Calhoun Storage is stenciled in black, like a punchline. Another text. Code 1N07#. If you hear footsteps, hide in Unit 14B. Mops. No cameras inside. I punch the code. The bolt slides back with a sigh. I step into a room that could be a chapel if chapels worshipped provenance. Racks, crates, eases, and on the central table, under a coyly angled light, A Rembrandt regards me from shadow with a gaze a printer could learn but never own. I don't breathe. I move. Gloves on. UV on. The surface flares like a sick aurora. Micro scratches reveal inkjet lines. The stretcher carries the same blank RFID tag. The stamp reads Norton and Rel, loyal as a dog. I shoot. Wide. Detail. Corners. Labels. Tags. I shoot the crate with its duplicate manifest. I shoot the second Rembrandt leaning against the wall like a backup singer. 3 minutes pass like sweat. I pivot to the landscape and feel my chest crack open a little. Same stamp, same lie. I photograph, heart counting in my ears. A text vibrates. Run, he knows. The word detonates in my bones. I kill the light, pocket the card, slide toward the door. Footsteps, suddenly, not mine, slow, decisive. I duck into 14B and find myself eye to eye with a mop that has seen things. The footsteps stop outside my door. The handle turns. The light flips on. A voice I know from donor dinners and press conferences and 12-foot portraits says, calm as a check being signed. Miss Reed, you just made the biggest mistake of your career. Finley Halberd steps into the mop closet like it belongs to him. He smells like vetiver and money. Finley Halberd, the man whose name once paid for my exhibits and whose signature got me fired. He's standing in the doorway of a mop closet, like it's a boardroom, expensive shoes in a puddle of bleach water. Step out, Eliza, he says, calm as an accountant. Let's not make this messy. I grip the UV flashlight in my pocket like a weapon, though I know it's not one. I force my voice to stay steady. Funny, that's what your lawyers said about authenticity. He smiles small, cruel, knowing. You always did have a taste for drama. I step out because hiding in a mop closet makes you small, and I've had enough of that. The hallway behind him hums with cold air and quiet power. Somewhere, an industrial fan breathes like a giant asleep. How'd you know I was here? I ask. He holds up his phone. On it, a looping feed. Me entering the storage room 20 minutes ago. The cameras weren't jammed, they were rerouted. You're not the first idealist I've had to manage, he says. But you might be the loudest. I'll take that as a compliment. You shouldn't. Idealists burn bright, then burn out. He steps closer. His cufflinks catch the light like teeth. I didn't want you fired, he says, voice almost kind. Ainsworth panicked. You embarrassed the institution. But there was a path back for you. Quiet work, restoration projects, things that don't make headlines. And pretend your collection isn't a stack of counterfeits? His smile fades. You think people care about truth in art? They care about story. They care about beauty. Authenticity is a luxury for people who can't afford imagination. That's not imagination, I say. That's fraud. He tilts his head. Words. So many of them. Behind him, I spot the open crate with the Rembrandt. The light glints on the frame, too new, too clean. And then, something else catches my eye. A small white envelope taped to the back. A shipping manifest. Halberd notices my glance. Don't, he warns. Which of course means I do. I move before he can stop me. I yank the envelope free and step back fast, ripping it open as his voice hardens. Eliza. Inside. Invoices, all recent. Norton and Rel, 12 works, all restorative facsimiles. Signed not by Halberd, by Mara Linden. My stomach drops. You wanted a scapegoat, I whisper. She's convenient, he says, and guilty enough to make it stick. She came to me. He sighs, almost bored. Then I'll have to clean that up too. His tone isn't a threat. It's logistics. He's done this before. Something inside me snaps. All the months of polite curatorial restraint, all the careful reports and academic emails, useless. You're done, I say. I've got photos, documentation, the works. You can't bury all of it. He smirks. You think you're the first person to threaten me with the truth? You'll find truth is terribly underfunded. Footsteps echo down the hall. 2 men in black security jackets turn the corner, not museum guards, private. One touches his earpiece. Sir? Halberd nods toward me. Escort Miss Reed out. Gently, if possible, they move forward. I run. I don't think, I just move. Past the crates, past the Rembrandt, into a maze of shelves stacked with masterpieces that might be lies. My heart sounds like a jackhammer. One guard shouts my name. The other's shoes scrape close behind. I spot a side door marked emergency exit. Alarm will sound. Perfect. I slam it open. The alarm screams like the city itself joined in. Outside, night air punches my lungs. I sprint across the alley, shoes slapping wet pavement, dive behind a dumpster just as the door bursts open behind me. Voices angry, distant. Then, a car engine. Then, silence. I crouch there, shaking, clutching the envelope like it's holy scripture. My breath fogs in the dark. The adrenaline crashes hard. My knees go weak. I laugh hysterical, ugly because of course I nearly died for art. Once the street empties, I pull out my phone, the burner. No service. Dead zone. Fine. I run 2 blocks until signal bars return and dial the only number that makes sense. Jules. They pick up on the first ring. Please tell me you're alive, or I'm breaking into your apartment with glitter and rage. Alive, I gasp, but it's bad. He knows. He's seen everything. Define bad. He found me in the storage facility. He's got private security. Cameras weren't jammed, they were rerouted. Jesus, Eliza. I've got proof, invoices signed by Mara. He's framing her. Silence. Then. Yeah, lock the door. Don't let anyone in. I hang up before fear can change my mind. I keep to side streets, head down. The city blurs, taxi lights, sirens, the smell of pretzels and rain. At Jules's studio, I buzz once. They open instantly, eyes wild. You look like you wrestled a ghost, they say. Close enough. I drop the envelope on the table, pull out the papers. Jules flips through them, eyebrows climbing. Holy, this is enough to bury him, they whisper. Not yet. But, it's a start. I plug in my camera and start transferring files. The screen fills with images, UV fluorescence, fake craquelure, tags, manifests. The truth, pixel by pixel. Jules hovers. So what's the plan now? You still doing the pop-up? Yes, I say. Tomorrow night. Earlier? Maybe. Before he can stop it. You think he'll let that happen? He doesn't get a vote. They study me, lips pressed. You're shaking. I'm angry. That's the same thing with better PR. We laugh briefly, desperately. Then, I turn serious again. I need to warn Mara. You sure she's not playing both sides? I don't know. But she risked her job. Maybe her life. I can't leave her to him. I pull out my phone, type fast. Mara. He knows. Get out now. No response. Seconds. Turn into minutes. Nothing. I text again. Please. He's setting you up. Still nothing. The screen stays blank. I sit back, the cold creeping into my spine. Jules lowers their voice. What if she's already... Don't. They nod. I close my eyes and try to focus. The exhibit. The files. The story. The revenge. Tomorrow night, I whisper. We light him up. Jules grins, sharp and tired. We spend the rest of the night rebuilding the show, double-checking prints, fixing the lighting, tightening the story flow. Every label, every image, every beat of truth sharpened like a blade. At 3 a.m. My phone vibrates. Unknown number. I freeze. The text reads. No name, no signature, just that. Then, a photo attachment. A woman's hand, holding a museum ID badge. The photo is blurred, but I know the nameplate by heart. Mara Linden. My breath stops. The caption below the image, she won't be your problem anymore. Jules looks over my shoulder. Eliza? I don't answer. I stare at the photo until my eyes sting. Then I pick up the UV flashlight, my little weapon of truth, and switch it on. The light washes the room in ghostly blue. Then he just made it personal, I say. And I don't lose when it's personal. Somewhere outside, a siren wails long, lonely, almost cinematic. Tomorrow, Finley Halberd will walk into his private viewing thinking he controls the narrative. He has no idea I've already rewritten it. Morning crawls in through the blinds like a thief. I didn't sleep, not really. Jules dozed off on a pile of fabric backdrops, the projector humming lullabies of static across the wall. I spent the night rereading every document until the words started to vibrate. Mara Linden. Gone. Or vanished. Or worse. Every time I close my eyes, I see her in my doorway, clutching that tube, whispering, "Phone's in the freezer." She knew the walls had ears. She knew this was coming. The text said, "She won't be your problem anymore." I replay it in my mind until my throat burns. I'm not built for revenge, not really. I'm built for truth. For details, textures, stories told in pigment, but Finley Halberd made sure truth and revenge became the same thing. By 8 a.m., I'm at the studio door, coffee in one hand, resolve in the other. "Wake up, we're going live tonight," I tell Jules. They blink blearily. "I thought we said tomorrow." "We don't have tomorrow." The look they give me says they understand. Halberd won't wait. He'll clean house, rewrite history, and paint over everything that connects me to the museum. I can't let him. 9:30 a.m. The broadcast plan. We sit cross-legged on the floor with laptops, extension cords, and too much caffeine. The plan unfolds like a blueprint of chaos. 1. Pop-up exhibit opens at 8 p.m. 1 hour before Halberd's private viewing. 2. Live stream everything on YouTube and Instagram. Cameras in 3 corners, Jules handling feed. 3. Files uploaded to Sienna at 8:05 p.m. Sharp, full documentation, manifests, UV footage, and the invoices tying Norton and Rel to Halberd's account. 4. Backup release scheduled via autosend at 8:30 p.m. If something happens to me. Simple, dangerous, irreversible. Jules says, "You're sure about the live stream? You'll be naming him on record." "I want him to watch," I say. "I want him to hear it in my voice." They sigh. "Then we make sure it looks beautiful while it burns." S to B is name B. 12 p.m. The final prep. Dante swings by with lunch and moral support disguised as empanadas. He whistles at the setup. "Looks like a museum, after an exorcism." "Good," I say. "We're purging something." He sets up lighting rigs, builds frames around the projections, makes the space feel intentional. Like Rebellion could have a gallery opening. By mid-afternoon, it's real. The curator's exhibit lives. The walls are black. The air hums with projector light. Labels hang crooked. The patron saint of liars. Digital print on canvas. Archival inkjet on polyester blend. Doubles. The landscape that existed twice. 2 originals. 1 truth. Every image has evidence beside it, invoices, microscopic details, glowing UV photos, truth curated like fine art. It's beautiful, in a tragic, dangerous way. 6:45 p.m. The call. My burner buzzes. Unknown number again. I almost ignore it. Then I don't. "Eliza Reed," I answer, voice flat. A pause. Then a man's voice, low and even. My heart sinks. "If you mean the truth, it belongs to everyone." Another pause. "You've made this bigger than it needs to be. If you walk away now, your friend stays alive." My stomach twists. "Mara? Walk away, Eliza. Don't show anything. Delete the files. If you do that, you'll never hear from us again." I force myself to sound steady. "You think threats work on someone who's already lost everything?" The line clicks dead. Jules watches me from across the room. "Bad? Worse than bad," I say. "He's playing for keeps." 7:30 p.m. The calm before. The space looks like a storm, waiting to break. Lights low, projectors warm, live stream feed ready. Sienna's voice comes through my earbuds. "You're trending on art Twitter," she says. "People are speculating you're dropping something huge tonight." Halberd's team issued a statement. "Defamatory rumors from a disgruntled ex-employee. Classic move." "Perfect," I say. "That means he's scared." Sienna exhales. "Be careful, Eliza. Seriously." I'm past careful. 8 p.m. The exhibit opens. Jules hits go live. 3 cameras blink red. The screen on my laptop shows viewers climbing 200, 600, 1,000, 200. My heart races like a drumline. I step into frame. My voice shakes only a little. Good evening. My name is Eliza Reed. I used to be a curator at the Halberd Museum of Art. I was fired for questioning the authenticity of several pieces donated by a wealthy benefactor, Finley Halberd. The chat explodes instantly. Oh my god, she's naming him. This is insane. Finally, someone's saying it. I gesture to the wall behind me, the projected landscape glowing under UV light, its forgery bright as neon. This painting was labeled as a 17th century Dutch masterpiece, I say. But under UV, the truth shows itself. The craquelure pattern isn't centuries old, it's digitally printed. Jules switches the feed to a close-up. The chat fills with gasps and fire emojis. This is one of 12 forgeries purchased and displayed under the guise of authenticity, I continue. All connected to Mr. Halberd's collection. Tonight, you'll see what happens when money rewrites history. The feed pans across the walls, invoices, signatures, duplicated works. Evidence stacked like dominoes. I can feel him watching. Somewhere in that penthouse or warehouse, Halberd is staring at his screen, pulse climbing. 8:16 p.m. Interference. The lights flicker. Once. Twice. Jules looks up from their laptop. Power surge? Then blackout. Total. Suffocating dark. The projectors die. The live stream cuts to black. Only the hum of the city outside remains. My pulse goes feral. Generator? Didn't bring one, Jules says, fumbling with a flashlight. We're on city power. Then, footsteps. Heavy. Behind the door, Jules whispers. Please tell me that's Dante. I reach for my phone, the screen glows weakly, and the camera catches one frame before it dies. A silhouette in the doorway, broad shoulders, tailored suit. Finley Halberd. He steps into the flickering light like he's walking onto a stage. Behind him, 2 men, security. The same ones from the storage facility. You really should have taken the deal, he says, voice smooth as varnish. This was never your fight. This is every curator's fight, I spit. Every artist's, every kid who believed art was honest. He looks around at the darkened room, the dead projectors, the cameras blinking error lights. Your show's over, Miss Reed. Jules grips my arm. Eliza, the files they didn't upload before the power cut. Halberd's smile sharpens. You see, even truth needs electricity. I step forward. You think darkness hides you, Finley? It just makes the lies louder. He gestures, and one of his men reaches into his coat. Something metallic glints. Jules gasps. Before I can move, there's a crash from the side door, wood splintering, a flood of flashlight beams, voices shouting, NYPD, hands where I can see them. Halberd's smile vanishes. His men freeze. I blink, blinded by the sudden light. A familiar voice cuts through the chaos. Step away from her. It's Sienna, standing with 2 plainclothes officers, press badge flashing like armor. Got your tip, she says to me. And your auto-upload worked, even without power. Halberd turns on me, fury cracking his perfect facade. You have no idea what you've done. Oh, I think I do, I whisper. And then, over his shoulder, I see movement, another figure stepping into the light. Hair disheveled, blood on her sleeve, but alive. Mara Linden. Actually, she says hoarsely. She knows exactly what she's done. Halberd's face drains of color. Mara drops a flash drive onto the floor. Every transaction. Every fake. Every deal you buried. The cops move in. Halberd tries to speak something about misunderstanding, but no one's listening. The sound of handcuffs is louder than his defense. I stand there, shaking, as light floods the room again. Projectors, reboot. The live stream reconnects. The audience sees it all. Halberd, furious and pale, being let out in cuffs. And me, standing in front of the exhibit that burned the lie down. Jules whispers, You did it. No, I say, staring at Mara, who manages a weary smile. We did. The chat explodes. Thousands watching. Screens across the world glowing with the same revelation. The curator's exhibit exposes billionaire forgery scandal. But as I meet Mara's eyes, I realize this isn't the end, because she leans close, voice trembling, and says one final thing. Eliza, there's something you don't know. He wasn't working alone. The projector flickers again, showing the final slide in looping blue light. Coming soon, Part 2, The Donors Network. The morning after the live stream, my name is everywhere. Curator exposes billionaire art forgery scheme. Halberd arrested in midnight raid. The museum scandal that shook Manhattan. I scroll through headlines in disbelief. My inbox is a graveyard of press requests, podcast invitations, and lawyers' friendly inquiries. I should feel victorious. I should be celebrating. But all I feel is unfinished. Because of what Mara said before, she nearly collapsed in my arms. He wasn't working alone. Halberd is behind bars, but the world he represents, the donors, the laundering, the quiet corruption, that world still hums under the surface like a buried generator. And Mara's flash drive, the one she dropped before being taken to the hospital, might hold the map. 1 p.m., the drive. Jules and I sit at the same table where it all began, sunlight bleeding through the blackout curtains. The flash drive hums in my laptop. Folder after folder opens, invoices, emails, scanned contracts, shipping manifests. This isn't just art, I whisper. These are assets. Dozens of museums listed anonymous donors, private collections, philanthropic loans, hidden networks of money cleaned through cultural endowments. Halberd wasn't just forging paintings. He was forging provenance laundering investments through fake art that passed as collateral for loans. And he wasn't alone. Jules leans over. These names, their foundations, corporations, trust funds. I scroll, jaw tight. And museum boards. Look at that, board members from 5 major institutions. Mara's final message echoes in my head. He wasn't working alone. 4 p.m. The hospital visit. Mara looks smaller in the hospital bed, pale, exhausted, but alive. They tried to make it look like an accident, she says quietly. Cut my brakes on the way home. Lucky I hit a hydrant instead of traffic. My stomach twists. You shouldn't have to pay for telling the truth, she smiles weakly. You think truth is ever free? I take her hand. We can finish this, Mara. With your files, with the footage, we can expose the rest. She nods, eyes fierce even through fatigue. Then do it. Don't stop with him. Outside her room, I call Sienna. You wanted a story? I say. I've got a bigger one. Art forgery, donor laundering, tax evasion, it's all connected. Send me the drive, she says. Not yet. It's safer if I deliver it myself. Where? The Met. Tomorrow. Noon. 8 p.m. The break-in. I'm almost home when I notice the same black SUV from the warehouse idling across the street. Coincidence? I don't believe in those anymore. I climb my stairs fast, heart pounding. Inside my apartment, everything's wrong. My drawers are open. My desk is overturned. They've been here. The flash drive burns in my pocket like a live wire. I grab my camera bag, shove it inside, and run. By the time I hit the street again, the SUV is gone, but the silence it leaves behind feels like a warning. The next day, the Met steps. It's noon when I spot Sienna at the top of the museum steps, coffee in one hand, notebook in the other. Tourists swirl around us, oblivious. I hand her the drive. Everything's here. Publish it when you're ready. She raises an eyebrow. You sure you're ready? No, I say. But truth doesn't wait for comfort. She smiles. You've changed. I had to. She pockets the drive and walks away, phone already to her ear. I watch her disappear into the city crowd, and for the first time in weeks, I breathe. Then my phone buzzes. A single text. No sender. You think Halberd was the top? You just opened the next layer. A link follows to a hidden cloud folder. Inside, a single file name. Boardroom, 7. MP4. When I open it, the video shows a meeting wealthy donors, familiar faces, museum executives, and sitting at the head of the table is someone I once trusted more than anyone. Director Ainsworth. The man who fired me. He's raising a glass. To Finley, he says in the recording, and to a system that always protects its own. The camera pans Mara in the background, pretending to take notes. That's how she got this. I stare at the screen until my reflection blends with theirs. The story isn't over. It's just metastasized. It's been 6 months since that night. Halberd's trial dominates the news. His lawyers are turning circles, trying to frame everything as creative interpretation, but the evidence is overwhelming. He's going away for a long time. But Ainsworth, the museum board, the donors, they're untouchable at least, on paper. Until now. The new exhibit. The Met's atrium smells like polish and anticipation. Press badges gleam, champagne flows. And everywhere, whispers about the curator's exhibit, Truth Restored, my newest installation. This time, it's legitimate, sanctioned, sponsored by smaller institutions who refuse to stay silent. It's not about forgeries anymore. It's about the cost of silence. One wall is dedicated to headlines, another to contracts, a third to an empty frame labeled, "The Price of Donorship." Not every masterpiece belongs on display. Jules curated the projection loop, flickering clips of the live stream that started it all. Dante built the frames again, proud as ever. And Mara, walking with a cane but alive and radiant, stands beside me at the opening. We've become something we never planned to be: symbols, whistleblowers in good lighting. The press surges when Ainsworth enters the gallery, face tight, suit perfect. He came to save face, or maybe to control the narrative. I walk up to him, cameras swivel. "Director," I say. "I wasn't sure you'd come." He smiles thinly. "It's a museum event. I make it my business to support those." I hand him a folded sheet of paper, a statement printed in elegant serif type. He opens it. His eyes widen. It's the transcript from Boardroom 7. MP4, his own toast. The video already uploaded, scheduled to go live the moment the clock hits 8 p.m. "You didn't learn your lesson, did you?" he murmurs. "Oh, I learned plenty," I say. "Especially that institutions don't fall with whispers, they fall with spectacle." His expression cracks just for a second. Enough for me. The clock hits 8. Phones vibrate across the gallery. The video plays on screens, subtitles blazing, Ainsworth's voice echoing across the marble hall. To Finley, and to a system that always protects its own. Gasps ripple through the room. Reporters swarm him like bees. He stumbles backward under the weight of flashbulbs. Mara grips my arm, whispering, "You just tore the roof off." "Good," I say. "Let the rain in." Epilogue. The Museum of Us. Weeks later, the Halberd Museum issues a statement of resignation. Ainsworth steps down. A federal task force investigates systemic art fraud and donor collusion. My inbox fills again, but this time with letters from young curators, artists, conservators, people who whisper. The world didn't change overnight, but it started to. One truth at a time. I still curate, but not artifacts anymore. I curate evidence, stories, testimonies, the kind of art that screams instead of whispers. Sometimes I visit the old museum, now under new leadership. The halls feel cleaner, brighter. The lies have been stripped off like old varnish. There's one small exhibit tucked into the corner of the modern wing. A single piece. My UV flashlight, mounted behind glass, labeled simply, Eliza Reed. B. 1995. The light that saw through everything. I stand there for a long time, watching the reflection of that small, stubborn beam, a reminder that truth, once uncovered, never goes dark again. Because in the end, revenge wasn't the point. Illumination was, and the world finally saw the cracks glow.